This is Veteran State of Mind, and I'm your host, Geraint Jones. Right, welcome to the podcast, everyone. Let's fucking do this. What do I need from you? I need you to tell people about the podcast, please. You like it? I like it. Let's get other people to like it. Spread the word, spread the love, spread the gospel that is Veteran State of Mind. And while you're spreading stuff, how about, not your legs, how about you head over to veteranstateofmindpodcast.com. No, wait, it's not called that. It's called vsonpodcast.com and subscribe to the fucking newsletter, right? Won't cost you anything. Just put your name in there, put your email in there, and boom, you're subscribed. And then I can send you details about upcoming merchandise. And I can send you details about Veteran State of Mind Live, because we're going to be doing more of them. And yeah, thanks again to the people that came out for that, because it was fucking awesome. This podcast is brought to you by none other than the Royal British Legion. Have you ever wanted to get your kit off in public and show you people your military-related tattoos? Well, thanks to the perverts of the Royal British Legion, your dreams have now come true. Tribute Inc., right? It's a project that shows our military, serving military and veterans remember comrades through tattoos. I think that's really important, obviously, because we've got to remember those who have gone before us and those who will continue to lay down their lives in the name of us enjoying the lives that we do. All right, and I think this is a really great project, guys. You can get involved yourself either by contributing photos, or if you might just want to look at them, okay? So you can do this by going to the National Arboretum in Staffordshire. There's an exhibition on there. It's there until December 1st, and then it's going on tour. I will keep you updated as on locations of that. British Legion in general, they're a bunch of good fucking people, right? If you're a veteran, you need help with your finances, you need help with mental health, anything like that. If you just need help with anything, you're a veteran, give them a fucking call, right? Give them a call. Tell them I sent you, all right? rbl.org. And rbl.org is the website, and Royal British Legion on social medias. All right, check them out. This podcast is made possible in part thanks to Zulu Alpha Strap Company. Zulu Alpha Strap Company, bombers watch straps for alley blokes. See, we're all about fucking alley at this podcast, and these watch straps, they fit the bill. Right, look, when you're in the army, got to be in the right place at the right time, aka 5 minutes before the 5 minutes before. You know how it is, guys, if you're serving, if you have served. Well, you need a watch, don't you? You need a good strap to protect it, because you don't want to be the fucker turning up late and having the platoon sergeant giving you good old fisting, right? So, Zulu Alpha makes straps that are both tactical and practical. And more importantly, they're fundamentally fit for purpose. And I, Geraint Jones, would say that more importantly than that is they look alley, because that's what wins wars. You can see these straps on the wrists of frontline operators around the globe. Check them out for yourselves at Zulu Alpha Straps, you sexy bastards. This podcast is also brought to you by Camouflage, spelled with a K. Camouflage is a veteran-owned surveillance and investigations company, a brand you can rely on for their professionalism, integrity, and quality of work at all levels. So what are the kind of things you'd use a surveillance and investigations company for? Maybe you need it for security. Maybe for information. Maybe you're just a nosy fucker. But you know what? I'm not judging, because I want to support this company. Whatever you need whatever the reason, you need eyes and ears on, Camouflage has got your back. They might even be watching you now. So stop watching your fucking anime porn, put your dick away, head over to camouflage.com, camouflage.co.uk, that's where you're going. You're going to go over there, check out the gear they got for sale. They got clothing, they've got custom-made ghillie suits, they got tracking devices, they got all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, get over there, Camouflage with a K, and Camouflage Limited on Instagram. All right, what we got going on today? This is a special episode where we concentrate on mental health, veterans in prison, and what got them there. My guests are Cormac Doyle, who is a veteran and mental health professional, and Richard Jones, who has recently finished the sentence for conspiracy to supply cocaine. Rich is now active in trying to keep veterans out of prison, and both he and Cormac work to support those on the inside. This was a conversation I've wanted to have for a really long time, and I think you'll learn a lot from it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I won't forget it, that feeling of acceptance. I can be the guy that's looking back with knowledge as my weapon. Cause it's inside of you and it's inside of me. The real killer in depression is to suffer silently. The journey's rough, the road is long. You've just got to accept, you haven't got to see the whole staircase, just the first step.
All right, gents, welcome to Veteran State of Mind. Good to have you both in here. I've done a freeway on the show a couple of times before. So what we're going to do is I'll let you introduce yourselves, and then we'll go from there. So Cormac, first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So just tell us a bit about yourself, mate. Your military background and what you're up to now.
Background was I qualified as a mental health nurse, came over to work in England for 6 months, ended up staying for the rest of my career so far. Joined the military in 1991, joined the Royal Air Force as a mental health nurse, did 20 years in the Royal Air Force, got to the rank of squadron leader, and then wrote a paper on the future of military mental health and wrote myself out of a job.
Right.
And a week later, I had an interview with the Army, and 7 weeks later, I was back in Afghanistan.
Right.
So my entire career has been working both at staff level and at clinical level, delivering mental health care to soldiers, ratings, and airmen. And then since I left the military 4 years ago, I run a small charity called the Bridge Charity, and we deliver EMDR therapy to veterans who can't access care anywhere else.
So we'll come on and talk about EMDR in a little while. So, Rich, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I joined the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment in 1988 at the age of 18. Fairly straightforward career in Northern Ireland, United Nations in Cyprus. Left in 95, went into CP work. Who hasn't done a bit of CP work? That kind of led me into a bizarre transition into the drugs industry. Not a legal drugs industry.
Oh, right, the legal one.
Yeah,
right.
It was illegal. And I got myself about a 15-year prison stretch for conspiracy to supply cocaine to the southwest of England. And I've just got out of jail about 3 months ago.
Right. Okay. Well, that kind of brings us into how you guys know each other. So, Cormac, one of the things that you do now is... well, actually, why don't you tell us yourself in your own words about the work you're doing with veterans on the inside? Yeah,
what we do is, as I say, we set up this military veterans charity, and we started looking after veterans who were outside of prison, just getting referrals from different sources, and then we were asked to go and see somebody in prison, which we did. And as a result of the work of what we did, the governor of one particular prison asked us if we could continue doing some work with some veterans. Now, what we're not allowed to do is we're not allowed to deliver clinical care inside a prison. So what we do is we actually go in, we give them supportive intervention, and then people like Richie, when they get released from prison, if they need any mental health care, we provide it free of charge.
Right. Okay. So, look, I think the way we go about this now is because there's so much to dig in here. Is let's go back to Cormac with your work with mental health to begin with.
Yeah.
You said you wrote yourself out of a job.
Yeah, I was working as a staff officer at Air Command, and one of the things we were doing, kind of reviewing how the format tri-service was actually working. And the job I had, I was told when I inherited, I'd be working 6 days a week for 2 years. Actually, after about 3 months in the job, I was playing golf 4 times a week in works time. Right. And the job wasn't as busy as it made out to be. So when I was asked to review my own job, which I did, I couldn't actually justify having a full-time job as a squadron leader.
And why was that? Why wasn't there that work?
There was a lot of work. I think the previous incumbent was probably working in other areas that he shouldn't have been. My job was actually just very focused on doing the operational mental health stuff and the peacetime location stuff, most certainly for the Royal Air Force.
So when you came into that job, then what was the kind of the state of mental health in the military in terms of what kind of like number of people were suffering from it? What was the kind of treatment for it, and what was the kind of like the ethos, or like sorry, not the ethos, the kind of like the thoughts and feelings towards mental health? Was it like,
All right, that's a really interesting question, because I was actually thinking about this 3 days ago. I joined the Air Force in 1991. Between 1991 and 2000, I probably treated 5 people with PTSD.
Right.
And one guy in particular was a First Gulf War veteran who was actually serving at the time that I treated, and subsequently treated him when he left. So at the time, I would have been looking after anxiety, depression, and very, very rarely PTSD would come along. And then between 2000 and 2005, more and more cases of trauma were starting to develop. And as you know, we were in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and people were coming back. Lots of regiments were doing back-to-back tours. Initially, at the time, there was a general reluctance for people to come and get help.
So I just want to jump in one thing. When you say regiment, so even you were in the Air Force, but you would deal with tri-service?
Yeah, Army, Air Force, Navy.
Okay.
And I can remember people would reluctantly come forward because they're worried about the consequences if they actually declared they had a mental health problem.
Right.
So that's kind of associated with stigma. But over the years, that's kind of reduced because the Air Force did run a very successful campaign called Don't Bottle It Up. I probably then, after 2005, lost count of the number of PTSD cases I was seeing.
All right.
And these were cases that were officially diagnosed by consultant psychiatrists. So it's not just me and my perception of what was actually presenting. Since I left the military, we have treated so far in the last 18 months, 2 years, 60 people, all diagnosed with PTSD before they came to see us.
Right.
Now, King's College will tell you that there's no greater number of people having PTSD now compared with 15, 20 years ago. And what actually happens within the military is no greater than Civvy Street. I think they're getting that one slightly wrong. And I think over the next few years, we may see an emergence of more PTSD-related cases.
I think something on that, though, as well, is like a lot of people that end up in the army, you probably have a higher chance. If you're the kind of person that goes into the army, you know, we all know that like a lot of people come from quite broken backgrounds. The chances of you being one of those civvies that already has PTSD is probably quite higher as well, isn't it? Because, you know, that's the backgrounds you're coming from. You're coming from rough backgrounds.
Well, in terms of generally mental illness, one of the few things that Theresa May did say of interest was the majority of adults presenting with mental health issues do have childhood trauma. A recent study done on 17,800 veterans in the States indicated that 20% of those people who developed combat-related PTSD came from broken homes. And I'm not saying that every home that's broken you're going to have problems or with a single parent, but as you know, they grew up in very traumatic circumstances. And the army, for example, historically have always recruited from inner cities where life has always been harder. So if you look at the incidence of PTSD, Army, Air Force, and Navy, higher in the Army, lower in the Air Force, even less in the Navy.
Right. So on that one then, in your experience, have you found that people coming to you for therapy have had something before the incident, like say the final kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back? It was in the military and they had stuff coming in, or?
It's very hard to put a figure on it. Definitely, I would say of the group that we've seen, easily 20-30% had childhood trauma.
Right.
Of the other people who developed PTSD, they may have had an alcohol problem, and that's what kind of reared its head first. They were drinking alcohol so they could sleep. They were using drugs, getting into fights, having trouble with the police, and there are a lot of behavioural changes. And eventually the penny drops with somebody that maybe their mental performance, there's something happening. And then when they come to see me, you usually find that there has been a build-up of symptomology. You got to realise PTSD creeps up very, very slowly. You don't just wake up one morning and go, I've got PTSD. No. It's your family saying to you, why are you so angry? And
you tell them, fuck off, mind their own business.
Yeah.
And then you throw a chair.
what the fuck you do with you? Yeah. And you kind of look at all this type of stuff. And a guy who's drinking too much goes out and has a fight.
Yeah. You should have fucking looked at me like that.
Yeah, well, do you know something? There's an interesting one. Some guys will go into a pub looking for a fight because they're missing the excitement of war.
Yeah.
So go in, spill a beer over somebody, and you know something?
I gotta say, man, that's one of the great things about having the rise of MMA now is that, like, look, if you want to punch someone in the face, as we all do at times, you can actually go and do it.
Legally.
You can go legally punch someone in the face.
You can batter the fuck out of someone, it doesn't matter.
I want to jump over to you for a second, mate. Yeah. Not literally, so pretty hard on.
Carry on, mate. That's all right.
Yeah, so when you joined in the, was it early 90s?
Joined in 88.
Right, 88.
Yeah.
Right, so when you joined in 88, what was the attitude towards, like, could you have conceived back then in 88 somebody sticking his hand up and saying, I need to go and see a mental health professional?
No, you would be battered, literally, by the lads. I mean, even though I won't say only I was in the tank regiment, we didn't have the same, don't jump across the table yet. You know, it was a Cold War time. You know, at then, the best we'd have had a few tours of Northern Ireland. We were around during the Iraq War in 1990, straight early 91. PTSD wasn't really heard of. We knew what it was. You know, we all were aware of it. We've all seen the medics in Vietnam video during our basic training. We were aware of certain conditions.
So what was that video then, mate? Yeah.
During basic training back in the 80s, and I think the early 90s, I think it's been banned since. It would be a video showing that you'd have it during your not your healthcare, your first aid training. Yeah. And it would basically show lots of gruesome shots of people in Vietnam with legs blown off, stuff like that. And it would make you watch it. Sit there and you wouldn't be allowed to fall asleep. They'd make you watch this video to show you what these injuries look like so that you're conditioned and you're ready for these certain things. And you look at it and think that's pretty heavy, but it doesn't seem real when it's on television, does it? It's just on the screen.
Yeah, it's funny, like, there's that distance. You know what else makes a difference, mate? It's different uniforms. Yeah. If they'd been wearing the same uniform, like, let's be honest, right? We could get on YouTube now. We could watch Syrians get shot in the head all day. Yeah. And it'd be like, oh yeah, because he doesn't look like us, he doesn't talk like us, he's wearing like a man dress. Yeah. Won't bother us. Yeah. If we had to watch an American soldier die, that would impact us a lot more. And if you showed us a British one, we'd probably all be in tears and smashing windows. Yeah. So don't worry.
check.
I'm not going to be putting any of those on. So don't worry. Studio is safe.
Yeah, leave that to me.
Yeah, but like no, that's the truth, isn't it? It's the more. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we go through the dehumanization process in training, and you call the enemy as always it's the Hun or it's Ragheads or or Charlie, and there's always that dehumanization.
Charlie, did you say Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's it's we do dehumanize, so it's very hard to see something on screen. But even so, that's some kind of indoctrination. And I know that the training that they go like, I know in America this is something that like PETA are always trying to stop, but they do the live tissue training on pigs and things like that. And it's all those little steps to getting people more conditioned for it. Yeah. But yeah, getting back to the original point though, it's fair to say then that it was inconceivable to talk about mental health.
Yeah, a funny thing which we found out was, I think around about 2008, we went to a reunion down in Bovington, a couple of lads that left at the same time as me. And we went to the sergeant's mess. We were getting pissed as you would do normally. And the lads that had then since done the 03 Iraq war, they were different. Right. Very different. The guys that you knew, say, 10 years previously, laughing and joking on the piss, they weren't the same people anymore. Totally changed. Whether they'd just grown up over time or whether it's because what they'd experienced had changed. And we'd lost one of the really popular guy, and it was I think he was shot by one of our own lads by mistake. We lost someone really popular in the regiment. I think that just fucked everyone's head up. They all got really serious. It was no longer the army that we joined back in the Cold War. All of a sudden you were doing a job which you were trained to do. And that's great because I'm kind of half gutted I wasn't there. Because our regiment got busy from about 96. Our unit got really busy with the Kosovo. They went to Iraq. And because of the training they received during these operational tours, they become more employable for other departments, other units. So they're being drafted out to different jobs. Right. And it became interesting. The guys who got medals going, right, they're flying off the shoulders. And I thought, wow, almost envious in the strange way that I wasn't there to be a part of that with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
So although I'm glad I left when I did, but at the time when I was in there, the whole PTSD thing, mental health, it just wasn't addressed, wasn't looked at.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said as well, there's that like underlying thing of if you show weakness will be preyed on.
Yeah, and the biggest trauma we faced in our day was someone trying to shave your bollocks in the naffy bar. When you're brand new and when you're
so
new.
So you guys were leading the way on shaved balls then?
Yes,
because I don't remember that being a thing in the 90s.
Yeah, we
fucking pioneers. So were you based out in Germany? Were you?
Yeah.
So let's have a little bit of talk then for people because we have a lot of young listeners on the podcast. And let's paint them a picture of what British Army life in Germany was like back in the day.
Right, so it's known as BAOR, now BFG, I think it's probably changed again. So British Army on the Rhine, we were over there at the time in the 80s. I believe the strength of British forces in Germany alone was about 55,000 strong. Wow. So you look at the size of the British Army as a whole back then. I mean, I don't think we've got that now as a whole army.
No, I don't think so.
We had that in Germany alone. So you imagine how many regiments were in this one country.
Yep.
It was fucking pandemonium. You couldn't go into any bar without it kicking off. And that was what army life was like. If you went down, you went to town, you were scrapping with the infantry, they were fighting with each other and losing, and they would fight each other and they would fight themselves because that's just the way it was. It was absolute chaos. The bars were getting wrecked. And more traumatizing, I think, was the times back in those days for us. That was our Iraq war, if you like. That was our kind of operation duty, was actually being in Germany and surviving those sort of 7-8 years that I was in.
I think if you've got a bunch of soldiers who want to fight, they're going to find someone to fight.
Yeah.
So if they don't have an enemy, so it's like the pecking order is, right, do we have an actual enemy to fight? If no, then do we have another, is there RAF or Navy to fight? If no, is there someone else from the army to fight?
Yeah.
And it just goes like that. Down, so it's like, right, they're from another section, we'll fight them.
Yeah. And we used to have the biggest fights that we always used to involved with was the Spics over in there, did all the burger vans, because we knew they would bring knives. They were dangerous. They were lethal, and if you start on one of them, you've got a proper row on your hands. So that was where it was. The Germans were just big lumps anyway. They weren't interested. But the local Turks, they were the ones which caused the problems, and that was where it always went a little bit wrong as well.
Yeah. It's interesting what you're saying about how attitudes change. I remember being in Iraq in 2005, and a letter was issued by the commanding officer over there, anybody going back with a war-related injury or a non-battle related injury was to be given a letter of "well done, we will look after you." Anybody with mental health problems was not to receive a letter.
Right.
I remember reading this.
That was specifically stated.
I can remember reading it. In fact, it was only about 4 or 5 days ago. I was trying to see if I could actually find the original copy. And I know that after about a month, it was completely expunged. Some said you can't be doing this.
Right.
But that'll tell you what the attitude of the hierarchy then was like.
Well, shot at dawn.
Absolutely. Well, do you know something? Yes. 906 people we shot at dawn.
Is that 906?
Yeah, and during World War II, we discharged, I think it was 4,996 airmen because of lack of moral fibre. So they didn't call it cowardice. So these are guys with proven records who'd been on mission after mission after mission, suddenly couldn't cope. Some guys with DFCs, and suddenly being discharged, service is no longer required. And this is where the terminology came from, lack of moral fibre, coined by a psychiatrist in 1941.
Cunt.
And the commanding officer would write to the local community, write to the local mayor and say, look, Joe Bloggs has been released. We'd highly recommend it. He's not employed, and this is the reason why.
All right, let me ask you, we'll go Cormac first. Do you think that every person has a breaking point?
Everybody has.
Rich?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah on that as well.
Yeah.
It's just a cup, isn't it? Like everybody's got a cup and you can keep filling it up and at some point it's going to spill. And you can bring it back down.
Yeah,
you can bring that level back down.
I think everybody has a breaking point, but I think people with very good mental resilience can actually see the breaking point coming and they can do something about it. Whereas with other people go, actually, I've got a breaking point, I'm just going and going and going. And it becomes very self-destructive.
Yeah. I mean, I use this kind of like a physical example. When I was up in Catterick, there was, like they'll have those forestry blocks, they'll have machinery clearing the forestry blocks. And I got put out in a stag position way out of the way from the harbour area. And there was this thing coming towards me clearing trees. And I just lay there as this thing's coming on cutting trees because I was like, I'm not going to be the person that sticks his hand up and says, Corporal, like, there's this thing coming. And he even fucking heard. He's like, what are you doing lying here? Yeah. And I think it's the same with mental health. Like, I didn't want to be the person that put his hand up. But because it actually takes someone with real strength to say, I can see the breaking point coming. Yeah. One of the examples I really like about leadership on this is the Dick Winters one. So people know him from Band of Brothers. He's the company commander in Band of Brothers, where he'd see it in his men. And what he'd do is he, because you've always got people like that one bound behind, haven't you? And he'd be like, oh, I need you to go and do this for me and send them off for a couple of days. And that just brought them just below that tipping point. And then they'd come back and they'd be fine. Yeah. And that was probably the case with those airmen, for instance, you're talking about. Yeah. They might have been like, hey, what we need you to do is we need you to stay back here and work on, we need to we wanted to teach the lessons to these new air crews for a couple of days. Yeah. And you can, like 2 weeks' time, you can go back up. And they probably would have been fine. Yeah. One of the things I'd like your opinion on is, because people get discharged from the army for having PTSD, right? Yeah. That to me seems like an incredible, not only waste of resources, but a real kind of way of compounding the problems that person's going to have, as in the sense that you're worthless, get the fuck out of the army, you're no good anymore. I can't understand a reason why they can't be employed in another role in the army. I can't see why somebody with PTSD can't make an instructor, why they can't make a QM or something like that. Is there a reason that I'm missing? I think when you look at the structure of the military, everybody sits into a PID. So that's a kind of a number that identifies what your role is. If you are a combatant and you have long-term problems and you can't be a combatant, the company commander wants somebody who can fight. Yeah. Okay. So therefore, do you end up with kind of, 4,500 people becoming instructors who've got mental health problems? They're not going to do it. They will actually get rid of people. Yeah. On the flip side, and what you're saying is correct, in the Canadian Defence Force, they will try to employ you somewhere within the MOD. So although you can't serve because you're not filling a NATO role, kind of a deployable role, you're kept within the fold where they actually look after you and give you kind of good treatment. I suppose the question is basically, because kind of what they're saying there is if you've got PTSD, you can never come back from it. You can never be a soldier again. I don't think that's true. Like I had, like you know, Cormac, I had very bad PTSD for a while. Yeah. I feel like now I could just fucking grab my kit. Well, not I couldn't because I'm a fat cunt now. Yeah. But mentally, I think I'm actually feel like really. I feel more mentally robust now than at any point in my life. Jez, the interesting thing is I have treated soldiers with PTSD and they've gone back to an operational zone. In fact, one was a very senior officer who was diagnosed with PTSD. He was told his career was over. He came to see me. He got better. A year later, he's back in Kabul for a 9-month tour and a very successful tour. I think one of the problems, and this is no disrespect to the guys currently serving in the military, Army, Air Force, Navy,
I think there's so many cases coming through that the system isn't coping.
Mm-hmm.
I read something recently that they had 28 vacancies for mental health practitioners within the military. So it's almost like you present with PTSD. This is very complex. We'll keep you medically downgraded for 18 months. We'll try you with the medication. We'll try you with the support. We'll give you a little bit of this therapy, a little bit of that therapy. If it doesn't work, we'll discharge you. So the guy takes the discharge. And here's another issue. A lot of guys being discharged, they actually believe they're going to get some massive payout for PTSD and a massive pension for life. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. There's a guy I know recently who's just got an award of 180 quid.
Right.
That's what he received, 180 quid from the Veterans Agency for his PTSD.
That's interesting.
I won't say his PTSD, for the PTSD that he was kind of living with.
And the thing is, the British forces are very good at training that part of you out of you which wants you to ask for help. They train it out of you during basic.
It's the crack on attitude.
Yeah, that's it. And the guys I know that have ended up inside, they've ended up being discharged with PTSD, and I'm not going to quote names. Yeah. As a direct result of their condition, they've ended up in prison.
Yeah, well,
because they haven't been cared for.
We're definitely going to come back on the prison because that's a really interesting one. Because as we all know, there's cause and effect to all these to all these things.
Just can we just flip back to just something you were saying about kind of people being discharged? The military worldwide needs to change its attitude. Okay, so we've got very good PTIs, so they can take you, they can take me, and you know something. It's not a case of if they'll get us fit, they will get us fit, and we'll be fit to deploy. The military need to be changing the whole terminology around anxiety, stress, depression, PTSD. We need to be looking at a soldier who is physically fit, and then we need to be looking at his mental human performance. So I think we need to get our PTIs, get them trained as human performance coaches. And combine that approach, because if you look at any Olympian who's running a 100-meter race, he just doesn't stand and run. Yeah. He's got human performance coaches behind him.
Absolutely.
And that develops mental resilience.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've been talking about this on the when the live podcast we did down in London. Just saying, like, look, you got people coming in. You don't take someone that's come into Harrogate or into Catterick and then just say, right, off you go to your unit. Your fitness is fine. You build their fitness up so that they get to the unit, they have a fitness, and you keep that level of fitness. It needs to be the same with mental fitness. You come in, and it's like, right, everybody is going to see a mental health professional. Yeah. So it's not a stigma. Every one of you is going the same way as every one of you is going for a fucking run. Yeah. Every one of you is going to go. Now you can't force them to participate, but I believe if it is part of the culture and everyone's doing it, why fucking wouldn't they? Yeah. A lot of them have probably always wanted someone to talk to and they haven't. So if they've come from a broken home, they've probably never talked to anybody about some things that have happened in their life. We should be doing everything we can to get those traumas dealt with at that early stage. Because the other thing as well is, you take a 16, 17-year-old, they haven't had as much. So like by the time, say, I went to look for help, I'm already in my 30s. I've had 30 years of conditioning to be like, don't ask for help. Yeah. Well, these guys now, they're growing up in a culture where it's okay. Absolutely. And they're still young. And when they're young, you can like, they're more willing to grasp these ideas. Yeah. So I think there's a great chance there to get them. And it works in the Army's favour because they're going to be more mentally resilient, as you're saying, Cormac. They're going to be the highest level of operators because it's not just about physicality, it is about your mindset. Well,
there's a really interesting... Look, I saw a guy, obviously we won't mention names, I saw a para recently who was... he came to see me because his wife gave him the ultimatum, you go for help or I'm leaving you, simple as that. And he was actively suicidal. As far as he was concerned, he'd buried 7 of his friends. He saw his wife, he went, if I die... it won't take you long to find somebody and get on with your life because I'm bringing you down at the moment. Right. So when he came to see me, he said, look, I don't want to be here and you're not going to stop me. And I said, I'm not going to try and stop you. I said, but give me 10 minutes. And I did some work with him. After 10 minutes, he got very emotional. He said, what have you done to me? I said, I haven't done anything. I said, your brain on one part wants to die and there's another part that actually wants to live. We're just going to sort this out for you. So what I did was I said to him that I was going to take a human performance approach to his care, rather than labelling it PTSD, anxiety and depression. Because one thing he hadn't done in 2 years was run. Because every time he ran, he'd had memories of going to Afghanistan, he'd memories of training, people he'd lost and so forth. So we took the human performance coach. Now, only human performance coach approach, only a para could do this. 6 weeks after starting it, he ran a marathon in 6 hours and 18 minutes with a 38-pound Bergen on his back. And that to him gave him back something he thought he'd lost. Yeah. And he made a pretty good recovery and is getting on with his life.
I think the framing is so important, isn't it? It's like when you start looking at mental health as a challenge to attack, and something like I'm getting like, I don't know if you saw, like recently I've been getting very pissed off with this whole veteran fireworks thing. You know, I've been saying like we're warriors, not dogs. Like I think and it probably comes from a good place. But it's the victim label. If you give someone a victim label, they will feel like, or some people will, it's going to work one way or the other. They're going to throw it in your face, or they're going to go, oh yeah, I am a victim. No, you're not a fucking victim. This is an opportunity. Yeah. It's a challenge, you know, it's something to get over. Like, what's your thoughts on that, Rich?
Yeah, I think if you start, if you're going to put someone down as a victim, and I've worked with people closely in prison, and we won't go into too much detail again, but they can be made to feel that way because of the perception, and that, in my eyes, can put them on a downward spiral. Because, like you say, one or the other, you take it as a challenge and you accept it and you beat it, or you end up going down with it and it sinks you.
Well, because squaddies are like, we're built on confidence and self-pride and work and like work. As soon as you start feeling unworthy and miserable,
you're gone.
That's it's your entire core beliefs that are being attacked there.
I think the issue with the fireworks, it's misguided kindness. I think you are quite right. Somebody said it's a good idea, but you know something? Do you stop fireworks because some people got PTSD? That's almost like saying you no longer allow red cars on the road because somebody was in a car crash into a car.
It's like this fucking clapping at Oxford University at the moment, isn't it? Because they've stopped clapping because it might trigger people.
Yeah.
I'm like, where the fuck is there like you know, without meaning to sound harsh.
I've got
shit.
Well, I came on.
I've got a granddaughter who's got non-verbal autism. Okay, and they're always saying you've got to have her in a quiet environment. Nope. When I go shopping, she comes shopping with me.
Well,
and we normalise it as much as possible.
The world's not. This is my problem with the Oxford thing. All right, you're stopping it there. They're going to leave university and go. So it's like you're not doing people any favors. Why, like you said, misguided kind of kindness. Yeah. You know, like there's going to be times where they're going to be exposed to it, and unfortunately, that's just how it is. Like, what happens if they want to go and travel? They want to go to Bangkok or something, and you know, like how are they going to deal with that? You're not helping people by doing that.
No. And you've got to keep normality, haven't you? You can't start changing everything.
You know as well as I do, the more you expose somebody to something, the better they become. If you look at stress inoculation training, battlefield inoculation training, if someone doesn't like gunfire, put them into a live firing range, and guess what? They get used to gunfire.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons we fucking train with live ammunition. Yeah. It's because it's not such a... you know, you've got used to it. You've heard rounds like a couple of meters away from you and stuff. You get used to it because otherwise, first time that happened, you'd all stand there going, "What's that noise? The fuck is that?" Anyone hear bees?
I was in one of my previous prisons, and we stood there and like getting used to the loud noises. I've got my back to the room. One of the officers walks in with a big folder. There's 3 other lads in it, and he fucking picks it up and he smashes it on the deck as loud as he can. Big loud bang. I just stood there. I didn't even register. The other guys shat themselves. Because I'm used to loud gunfire. Didn't even flinch. And he said, you didn't even move. I said, well, you try and stand next to a tank when it gets fired off. Your whole fucking body moves.
Well, when the Olympic Games are on, I was the OC of the Department of Community Mental Health down in Woolwich. And the firing arena was about 400 metres away from my office. And what people said is, we need to schedule these appointments very careful. Anybody who's got significant PTSD related to combat operations, don't bring them in. And I went, no. You're reinforcing something to them.
Exactly.
And I had the one guy come in. I said, look, there is going to be live firing going on. And I was doing this therapy called EMDR. And you know something? It actually helped me desensitize really.
And you can't wrap a cotton wool, can you?
That's a great segue, actually. Can you explain to people then what EMDR is? Because this is a bit of a revolutionary kind of very highly effective form of treatment, isn't it?
Yeah, EMDR is actually a very simple, straightforward psychological therapy that was really discovered by a doctor by the name of Francine Shapiro. And it is essentially getting somebody to concentrate on an image. Say the image is, for an example, an exploding cup. That's being very threatening. While at the same time producing bilateral stimulation. Now, usually it's done by the person looking forward, thinking about an image, while you would move your hands left to right and get their eyes to track.
And what's the reason behind that eye tracking?
The eye tracking, one, it keeps the focus. But the work that we've personally been doing and the research we're doing, we actually wire people's brains up when we're doing it. And we see significant brainwave changes. So you may have a very high anxiety level, and day before you're going to have masses of beat activity. But once you start doing bilateral stimulation, you actually see that the brain actually calms down. Right. But what actually happens is, there's a lot more science to go behind this. But what you need to understand is, as you get the person to concentrate on the image, they will actually tell you that they're processing the information. And if you go to the pure science of it, the image, for example, is trapped on the right-hand side of the brain. The left-hand side of the brain won't allow the processing for whatever reason, whatever the theory is behind that. But by introducing the bilateral stimulation, the person will respond and go, actually, the exploding cup, you ask them, what's happened to it now? Well, it's fading away. Mm-hmm. I can't keep the colour. I can't keep hold of the image. And I've been doing this for years, and I never cease to be amazed with people who come in with a traumatic image, and literally in a short period of time they're going, actually, it's gone. And what EMDR is very good at doing is giving that person who's absolutely petrified of therapy the opportunity to come in and get therapy dealt with without being asked any questions. So I predominantly use a system known as the blind therapist protocol. So you can turn up with a particular trauma, and all I need to know is, do you have an image? And you go, yes, or a memory. Can you attach an emotion? Yes. I don't need to know what your trauma is. And that does two things. It gives you a safe environment in which to get the image to process, but also it stops me from having to listen to traumatic stories day in and day out.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's it. It's definitely that kind of contagious thing. Because I did a bit of EMDR with you, and the image I had now, if I try and recall it, is like a tiny stamp, a black and white tiny stamp in my image, where before I would describe it as more like a full screen HD.
Oh, right.
And now it's like a tiny black and white non-threatening image.
Yeah. And the thing is, well, because you brought up your own experience, it's non-invasive. Mm-hmm. It's very relaxing.
I think it's great.
And here's the interesting thing. Nobody should enter therapy or should leave therapy worse than they entered. Mm. Now, I've seen some guys, and they were told by psychiatrists, psychologists, if you're feeling depressed next week, phone the Samaritans.
Right.
Or they'll activate it, they'll trigger off something where the person has an emotional reaction and leave upset.
Yeah.
Nobody should leave a clinical room upset.
Yeah. Well, when I went through therapy, and I'm glad I did it, but we came up with a rule basically with the family. It's like, look, on the days that I go to therapy in the morning, just leave me alone in the afternoons. Just leave me alone, because it's like I might just flash, and I think that was just like a good rule to have on it. Like I was a big fan of the EMDR. I was a big fan of the cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of both. I think, like, talking about framing again, where therapy and all this stuff got really kind of like, it really changed for me was when, again, I started looking at it as an opportunity, and I started reading more, not just about my own mental health, but just in general, like the whole mindset thing. I started reading books about like leadership, mindset, all that kind of stuff. The brain is such a fascinating thing that I started to really look forward to going to therapy as a chance of learning more about, like, why do I think like I do? Where are these thoughts coming from? Why, like, it's so fucking fascinating. So it's kind of like, if you get on board with the idea of, hey, this is great, you're going to explore some stuff that's going to blow your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like it can be like the thought of, like, you can think of something and a smell will come back to you, like all that, like how all that stuff happens. Yeah. Like I had down at my brother's the other day. He's got my granddad's old pipe. Took a little smell of that pipe, bump. I'm back in the fucking room of 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago. And I'm like, whoa, this stuff. I mean, we all live in virtual reality anyway, and none of this is actually real, and we're being played by aliens. But that's not the point. The point is that, like, it's just it's fascinating, and it's the same with anything. It's like if you blow up your knee, you've got a great opportunity there. Okay, it sucks that you blew up your knee, but you've got a great opportunity there to learn more about the anatomy of your body, and like you will actually, coming out of that, have a great a kind of benefit for the rest of your life, because you're going to know how your knee works and how to rehabilitate. And it's the same with your mind. Like, it sucks going to. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to go? Yeah, it would be fucking great. Yeah. But if you do, make the most of it. Use it as a fucking opportunity. Like you're getting this, someone like yourself, thousands upon thousands of hours of training and expertise. it's fucking really interesting to be able to pick somebody's brain about that kind of stuff. I think.
I think one of the most interesting cases I ever came across was an officer that came back from Afghanistan. I mean, he'd been on every operational tour, I think, since 1993. But he had subsequently been diagnosed with PTSD and he was discharged from service. And his PTSD was so significant that if you actually showed him 2 pieces of wire, his body would go into spasm. It's kind of a condition known as...
2 pieces of what? Wire?
Wire.
Okay.
Because it would reactivate defusing bombs.
Right. Okay.
So he'd actually built a house, but had to bring an electrician in to do all the wiring because he was just activating himself the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I brought him in. We did a pretty intensive session of EMDR. He comes back to see me a week later. And he walked in with a bit of a bouncer's deck, and I don't know, we call him George. When George had things, he said, brilliant. So we sat down and we chatted, and he took 2 pieces of wire out of his pocket and went, look.
Didn't blow himself up.
He said, yeah, and that was it. He said,
Akbar.
yeah, he said, yeah. He said, look, I've realised I'm not going to die holding these 2 pieces of wire. So we're kind of chatting, and
that's awesome.
His wife was delighted, but it was what he came out with next that was better, because I always say to people, have you noticed anything different? And he came back with, yes. I went for a game of golf and I was playing better.
Right.
And that made me think, what did I do with him that may have helped his golf? So whenever I see somebody, I create an algorithm inside my head so I know exactly where to go with questions and how to change protocols around. And I suddenly realised that part of what I was doing was getting him to focus on the wires. He did. I didn't direct him. So his mind was processing it. Because his mind was processing it, and when he went out to play golf, it was no longer an issue. So it's not that I made his golf better. Physically, his response to what he was doing got better. And took 2 strokes off his golf handicap in space of a week.
Come on, let me ask you something, man.
Yeah.
Is it possible to completely get over PTSD?
Yeah, of course it is.
Right. So you can because someone said this to me. One of the things I've been getting a bit annoyed with recently is because obviously and I can't really complain about this because I documented publicly my PTSD in a book, Brothers in Arms by Geraint Jones, published by Penguin.
Highly recommended. I've got a copy in my kitchen.
But look, someone said to me the other day, I put a post on Instagram on some of these accounts, and basically because I'm very kind of anti-war these days, which I think is a pretty logical position to have, because why would I want people to fucking suffer?
Yeah.
And someone was like, this is a result of you're projecting your PTSD. And I'm like, well, I don't think I am. I just don't want women and children to fucking die.
Yeah.
I'd fucking love to fucking stick a jimpy over my shoulder now and go, well, I'd like someone else to carry the ammo, but then to put some rounds down. I'd fucking love that. But you know what? It comes at the expense of people fucking, like women and kids and people who live on that, who are fucking human beings. It comes at the expense of their fucking lives and their, and all that stuff. So I was like, I thought, am I going to have this for the rest of my life? Every time I come up with, and then someone the other day I said, I was like, again, it was very, very well meaning. I was like, I'll call you back in a bit. I've got to go meditate. Oh, is everything okay? Is it the PTSD? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Well, you can always talk to me. I'm like, and I appreciate it, but I wanted to be able to, because I was kind of asking myself, I was like, am I over PTSD or am I kidding myself? And I just wanted to know, is it possible to totally to kind of like have it totally erased?
I believe you can, and I do it for 2 reasons. I have to believe that what I'm doing is right, and I want to give everybody the best crack of the whip. Okay, there are some times when it doesn't work, and I'll be very honest. I received a letter from a firm of solicitors. They asked me to stop treating a particular soldier because his recovery was actually interfering with his compensation claim. Right. So you can also have people who can come into therapy and they're very resistant because, as long as they've been diagnosed with PTSD and they're getting certain benefits, if they're going to get better, or anxiety or depression, there's a loss, so they can be resistant to treatment. I will tell you something that not many people know. When I was 19, I was the victim of an attempted murder. So I had somebody try to strangle me with my own tie. So I'm not going to go into details, but it was a mental health patient I've been dealing with. So I went through that normal reaction that everybody else has. So when somebody says to me, I used to drink half a bottle of whiskey to go to sleep at night, somebody go, yeah, I can be there. Bear in mind, I was 19 at the time. But at the time, I was doing my training, I was doing a lot of fitness, and I kind of got better. But the one thing I could not do comfortably ever was wear a tie.
Right.
So I'd wear a tie that was too big. When I joined the Air Force, they gave me a tie that had a metal clip because I explained to the flight sergeant what the issue was. And it didn't interfere with any aspect of my life. I never had nightmares, but I would just have this very difficult thing. So when I heard about EMDR, went off and did the training, they asked somebody to volunteer and going, do you have a trauma? And I went, yeah. Held my hand up and said exactly what it was. The guy did a session of EMDR on me. It lasted 25 minutes. And at 5 o'clock, when the course ended, being a typical military course, everybody went to the bar. I walked straight out of the hotel and someone said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to the train station." And they went, "Oh, you've had enough?" I said, No, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Do you remember years ago on the train stations, you used to have a little thing called tie rack?
Yeah.
So I walked up to this guy and I said, "I'd like to buy the loudest Walt Disney tie that you have." So he gave me a yellow tie with Daffy Duck on it. And I stood there and I put the tie on. Absolutely no sensation at all. It was completely and totally gone. However, it wasn't that made me felt great. It was what the guy actually said to me. And he went, "Mate, as much as I appreciate your money, that tie does not go with your fucking suit." And I looked at him and went, exactly. So I'm sure that day when I was walking back to the hotel in Manchester, everybody was looking going, he was not dressed properly this morning. No. So I do believe, and again, with the evidence that we have and the people we've treated, they're all symptom free.
Yeah, I just think of it like, you can fucking overcome, you can overcome fucking physical injury. I just don't see why. I just don't see why it should be something that has to be there for the rest of your life. I really don't. It just doesn't make. I'm not a doctor. I'm a bro scientist. All right.
Would you see your life being before you've had the PST or PTSD? Your life's a certain way. You get the treatment, you get better. But your life's always different. So how can you necessarily define that it's the PTSD making your life different? The fact is you probably are completely cured, but your life is so much different to what it was prior to condition that you've got no way to sort of tally them both together.
Exactly, mate.
So you live in a different life.
I think also if somebody's coming for treatment, it's like going for a cancer treatment. Okay, can you be cured from cancer? Well, actually, you can. You've got to give people hope, and I'll tell you why. If you give somebody hope and you inspire them to believe that there's hope, and you're giving them positive mental attitude, and everything you do is a very positive reaction, guess what? Having that positivity inside the head is going to help the individual.
Totally. And look, man, I think, like I said, framing is really important. I think words are very important. If you say, like, coping with PTSD, that will have an effect on you that you might not realize subconsciously because you think that you're constantly battling it away. If you say beating PTSD or getting it over PTSD, that just like those little, those couple of fucking words.
Changing terminology will make a massive difference.
Yeah, but there's an interesting thing. People will go around saying my PTSD, my anxiety, my depression. You'll never hear them saying my alcoholism.
No.
It's the mental health things they'll actually kind of address. But I think also it is changing the terminology, which is absolutely important. Yeah. And you get them into that mindset. And what I also say to people, PTSD is not your friend. It's not your mate. It's fucking enemy forces. And what would you do if an enemy force was attacking you? Yeah. You'd fucking fight back.
Well, you got to turn into it. You turn into an ambush and you fight through it.
Yeah.
One of the things and look, if people want to use it and it helps them, then great, I'm all for it. So I'll say that with a caveat. But the PTSD survivor, I'm not a fan of that tag. Because again, it makes you just feel a bit like a victim. It's like, I don't want to feel like I'm a survivor of the Taliban or the Jaish al-Mahdi. I want to think that we went out there and fucking kicked the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
And it's the same PTSD. I'm not a fucking survivor of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like, and maybe because I'm a fucking author, maybe I give too much importance to words, but I just think that it really is so important, the framing that's put around this stuff. And like I said, we're kind of coming back to the fireworks thing. Look, there's going to be people out there who hate fireworks because it's tied into some kind of trauma. I get that. But the majority of veterans fucking love fireworks because it reminds them of being back in a contact, and they love being in contact. They love, this is the thing, like people, boo-hoo, poor soldier hates the noise. No, he loved the noise. That's why he kept asking to go back on tour. That's why he wanted to be out there. Like most fucking lads, they love it. Well, we watched the 4th of July fireworks in the States. We had the fucking balcony packed with veterans and we were all fucking raging boners. I mean, that might have just been because I was wearing my little shorts, but that's not the point. We fucking loved it. Now we go, some of them, it's a bang, you're not expecting it, it surprises you. Doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not. If you're walking down the street and someone goes bang, it's going to fucking surprise you.
But I think you also got to realise that if you go to a fireworks display, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they kind of the unexpected thing is not going to happen. You just know it's going to go up, and at some stage it will happen.
I was thinking it'd be a right laugh to get dressed up in full kit, helmet on and everything. go down to a fireworks display and people will be looking at you a little bit weird. And then as soon as the first one starts going off, says Johnny in the trees. I just like start like diving and forward rolling everywhere. And just,
in the wire.
and just seeing what people happens. And, you know, just be like, oh, there's the crazy veteran who's turned up in his fucking desert cam with his helmet on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking that could be pretty interesting.
You get me straight back in jail, that would.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just I don't know. Like I said, it comes from a good place, but there's a lot of people out there, and here's the problem as well. There'll be some people that take offence to us talking about it like that. Oh, you're having a laugh about the poor veterans who... Well, actually, I am making a joke of it because some of it is fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, the idea is funny. It's like...
We've earned that right to fucking make a joke of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, what you're saying is actually right. There was some people kind of criticising, but you know something. I've done this job for years and years and years, and what I usually find the people who struggle most are the people who are not accessing care properly, because I know guys who've survived. They've come through, they've had treatment, and you know something, they will crack jokes about it. There's a wonderful guy by the name of Mark Cundy. Mark 2 years ago went to the Derbyshire Hills with a shotgun and 2 cartridges and brought his dog. Yeah. I think he's been in contact with you. And Mark's plan was that was it. I've had enough.
That's how, yeah.
You know, and Mark ended up coming to see me. Mark now works in mental health. He talks to people. He enjoys their company. He refers people to me. And you know something? If anybody can crack a joke, it's Mark Cundy. He has it. And it's a kind of, and you are right, it's all this positive affirmation. You've been there and had a diagnosis of PTSD. I've been there. I've experienced trauma. Do you know something? If we want to joke, we can. Because I know for a fact that you take PTSD very, very seriously. I've read your books. And one of your books that I read, I remember saying to you, this is a book that a clinician should read.
There's Blood Forest too.
Yeah, because one of the lines, most certainly about kind of the chap holding the cat, I went, that is absolutely so important. So animal therapy does help to a degree. And there were other things in passages that you'd actually written that anybody who's a good clinician would know, this is not a writer writing a story. This is somebody telling his story. Because I was very moved by that book. I remember contacting you and saying, you know, this is actually something that clinicians should be looking at.
Third one's coming out soon, Legion by Geraint Jones. Here's the thing with humour, right? In my opinion, and this is my opinion, other opinions are available, that if you've never had PTSD and you don't know anyone that has PTSD and you want to make a joke about it, by all means make a fucking joke. Because I tell you what, one of the things, I don't know if you guys know Dan Crenshaw, he's the congressman who's got one eye, he's Navy SEAL, or wasn't it? Well, you know, Navy SEAL. And, someone took the piss out of him on Saturday Night Live, and there was a big hoo-ha about it. And, you know, it was kind of like, hey, only veterans can make fun of veterans. And I was like, no, you can't. Because I tell you what, as a fucking veteran, we made fun of everyone. Cancer jokes, we made them. Kids jokes, we made them. Cot death jokes, we made them. Yeah. Squaddies make the most vile jokes going. So the idea that a veteran or people saying they speak for veterans can get offended about jokes about veterans with PTSD. No, sorry. As a squaddie, you have voided any right to get offended by other people's jokes.
I think if you were to plant a microphone among a group of veterans, among a group of soldiers deploying, and you recorded the conversations, every topic in the world is discussed.
Yeah, and
they don't hold back.
There was a case that was out. There was a Lance Jack who he was saying something like, I can't remember if it was like it had been on YouTube or something, but basically he said something lewd about the local kids, right? By the way, local kids don't speak fucking English, so they didn't have a fucking clue what he was saying. He got stripped of his rank and stuff for it. Really? Like, look, if you're going to do that, I got news for you. You got to strip rank off every single fucking infantry soldier that's been a helmet and a rack. Because every one of us has made a joke. It's like, oh, no, it's fine for him to shoot people in the face. Yeah, there's no dramas. But hang on, he made a Gary Glitter joke. Fucking strip him of his rank. There's double standard on it. But joking aside, the double standard is one of the reasons I think there is a problem with mental health. Because what you're saying to guys is, it's okay to kill. It's okay to maim. It's okay to let Afghan people beat their wives and keep their kids locked up and deny their girls schooling because that's their culture. Oh, that's fine. But if you piss on a dead body, or if you make a joke, or if you post a photo of the dead enemy, then you are fucked. And that is such a what's the word, juxtaposition? I should know this shit, but like it's such like you're taking you're smashing guys over the head with one set of values, but then then you're judging them against those same things, and that is for an 18-year-old lad. What a way to fuck somebody's head up.
Yeah, because you're going to double guess everything you do, aren't you? You're going to start questioning your own abilities.
But mate,
and what you should do.
if you've seen young schoolgirls denied school and been told that that's okay, and if you've seen, like, you might have seen your mum beaten as a kid, and then you've seen this on tour again and been told that there's nothing you can do about it, you leave them to it. Of course, that's going to compound people's trauma, and then. Okay, these things, like, let's be honest, we can't go to Afghanistan and change thousands of years of culture at once. That's not the case. But let's fucking acknowledge that when a lad comes back and he does something that's maybe a little out of line with our cultural norms, let's maybe acknowledge that there's a reason behind that isn't just him being a cunt. That there is some reasons from his from his past and from his service that might be a result. We have no rehabilitation when we come back from we do this huge, you spend like a year in pre-deployment training. You spend 2 days tops of decompression on your way back home. That's unacceptable.
Do you know, it's interesting. I mean, if you look at the squatty humor, and I know some people probably criticize the way we've spoken about it.
We got fuck off.
I would love to know how much money have squatties actually raised for charity. Well, because I would say it runs into millions. I would say
gazillions.
Yeah, I've seen squatties in the shithole of Helmand running around trying to raise money for the poppy pill or to raise it. They're always going on, and you have to bring that balance into it. You're talking about decompression. I came back from my last tour of Afghanistan, and at the time I was the officer commanding of the field mental health team, so I was spending 2 weeks out on the ground back in again. So I saw all this shit. I was involved in different things. I was on a helicopter, crash landed, the lot. Coming back through Bloodhound, it was 2 days, all right, as you said.
So, sorry, Bloodhound is the camp in Cyprus where they hold decompression.
Decompression. And they said to me, "You're entitled to have 2 beers tonight, sir, or in your case, because you're an officer, you can have half a bottle of red wine." And I went, "No, thanks." And they went, "No." And I went, "No, I actually don't want it." I said, "I haven't drank for 9 months. And if I'm going to have a drink, guess what? I'm going to have it when I get home in 2 days' time." They made an appointment for me to see a mental health nurse because they thought I had an issue because I didn't want to drink alcohol. So decompression, when it started off, it was very much everybody into Limassol. And guess what happened? Guys who hadn't drank for months and months started drinking. Fights. Lots and lots of fights.
I actually kind of think that was... So when we did decompression after Talik 10, which is 2007, it was a punchy tour.
Yeah.
And it was unlimited beer. And I actually thought it was a really good idea because we beat the shit, like, people beat the shit out of each other. People puked all over each other, pissed all over each other. It was absolute chaos.
Sounds like a standard
But
night.
by the time we got back home, our first night back then, everyone was like, it was out of the system. When we came through the second time after Afghan, which again, punchy tour, there was 2 cans each, and we kind of felt insulted. We were like, we've just been in fucking Afghan for 6 months, you bunch of cunts. Like, we want to get fucking smashed. And especially those of us that come back after Talik 10, we were like, well, I've been looking forward to pissing on my mate for 6 months, and you're going to fucking deny me the right to puke on him when he's asleep. So we kind of took it as an insult. So all we did was we all got our 2 cans, made a couple of the crows drink them, and then just got them pissed and then got bored and went to bed.
Did you piss on them anyway?
But yeah, well, no. But then what happened was that first night back on as a civvy, first night back in the civvy town, that's when I went out, and then that's when the pissing and the puking happened.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, you as officer and gentleman, mate, as me as enlisted rank scum, who's,
I started off there.
Yeah, but I just don't think that it was a good idea. Right, we're going to take a short commercial break, guys, and fucking don't be pressing your fucking fast forward buttons, you bunch of cunts, because the people who are sponsoring us, they keep the lights on, and they are veteran owned or veteran related companies. So give them in your ears, and we'll be right back. Today's episode is made possible in part thanks to the Development Society. Get humbled with DevSock, you filthy thing. DevSock is a platform for motivation, inspiration, and wavy merch. That is really cool stuff like caps, stickers, t-shirts that you can buy. It's run by serving blokes, and they're a bit different. wavy vibes, unusual thoughts, and stoic philosophies are what drive him to strive for the very best. If you're looking for motivation in fitness, work, or in life itself, then check out my dudes at the Development Society, a community of like-minded people who want to grow, which, as you all know, is what we're all about here on the podcast. So if you like the podcast, you'd like the Development Society, go and check them out. And if you want to buy any of their shit, use the code GRJ10 for 10% off their stuff. Boomf. devsoc.shop, that's the website, devsoc.shop, and at the Development Society on Instagram. And I tag them up in posts and stuff like that as well, so just look for them. They got Flamingo on their thing, you can't miss them. This episode is also brought to you in part by Altberg Boots, specialist boot makers who have been in the game for over 40 years. They make super alley boots. They make alley boots for civvies. All right, if you're a civvy, you might not know what alley means. It means cool. They make alley boots for civvies. They make alley boots for serving military. They make alley boots for cadets. If you got a pair of feet, they make fucking boots for you, all right? So check them out. They got them in all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different fits, lightweight, heavyweight, whatever you want, bada bing, bada boom. Get some fucking Altbergs on your feet. I've used them for, Christ, I don't know. I'm old, right? I've used them for a long time. And, yeah, you know, I'm a bit tight, but I put my hands in my pocket and bought a pair of Altbergs. Do you know why? Because they protect my ankles and they looked cool as fuck. So get yourself some Altbergs. Head over to altberg.co.uk. Alley boots on your feet. Let's do it. All right, back in. Guys, let's go and take a bit of a kind of like a turn here and start talking about the Rich, your story with prison, mate. So, do you want to kind of like give us a bit more detail about how you ended up on the inside, mate?
Yeah, so it's not really clear cut. I didn't come out of the forces and say, right, I'm going to be a drug dealer.
Right.
I don't think anyone really does. So what you kind of do is you look at your transition when you come out of the forces. Me was in CP. So I went into close protection. I was doing a lot of surveillance. Now, back in the 90s, 95, 96, it wasn't regulated like it is now. There was no SIA badging. There was nothing. So a lot of the companies that were, say, doing the door work and a lot of the CP work and a lot of the events were also a lot of villains within sort of infiltrated within that community. And what I found was there were certain catalysts which sort of led me down into the sort of dark world of crime. And if I split into two different areas, I came out, I enjoyed going out on the piss. I enjoyed the nightlife. I liked clubbing. I really enjoyed the scene of ecstasy because in 95, the whole underground network from the fields and the warehouses, that had exploded mainstream.
Yeah, so it's like the rave culture was kind of just becoming a thing.
Yeah, it's becoming such a massive deal. You know, all the clubs are doing this sort of arranged nights, all these different sort of, things like Kerrang and Cream and Ministry of Sound. They were becoming really main venues. So I kind of looked at the club I was in, and I remember this one night I was with a couple of friends. I just finished my night on the door. I've had a bit of speed, so I was kind of like chatty and doing my thing. And saw the lads and I said, how are you getting on? They said, oh yeah, we're off our tits on pills tonight. I thought, what are they like? And I was just curious because of my risk-taking behaviour. I kind of thought, well, I'm up for anything really. Let's give it a shot. Yep. It's like, it might kill me, but it might not. And I got led down to the stairs in this club and there's two lads absolutely off their fucking nut on a podium dancing with their shirts off. And I thought, look at that. What are they doing? They look like they're having the best time of their life. And they come down, big sweaty hug.
Yeah.
Give me this pill. And I looked at it, I thought, yeah, well, fuck it, let's go for it. So I just took it. And 45 minutes later on-ish, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had the best night of my life, you know. and for that moment, while I was wired to the moon on that pill, I belonged to something again.
Right, got you.
You know, I felt like I was on the same wavelength as all those other people in that club.
Yeah. For
that duration of time.
Yeah, and this is important, mate, because this is what I always said. People demonize drugs, right? I've had a problem with drugs, and I want people to know that the problem was me. The problem wasn't like a pill sitting on this table right now or a bag of Coke or whatever is not a problem. It's the person doing it is the problem, right? Because what we were talking about here is a little chemical compound or something, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is important for people to realize, because if you go one or two directions, if you say that there's no problems with drugs, you've gone too far in one way, and if you say that it's drugs are the end of the world, like you said, you had one of the best nights of your life, mate. Yeah. I've taken what people call ecstasy, MDMA, and I have had some of the best nights of my fucking life on it. And it's important to acknowledge that. The reason it's important to acknowledge it is because if you try and bullshit kids, like there's kids listening to this now. So you kids listening, right? You can. It's important you understand that there's there is something that's attractive about these things. And if people tell you not, like you're going to think that they're bullshitting you because that is the truth, right? And if people think they're being bullshitted, one thing that human beings fucking hate more than anything else is being fucking lied to and treated like it. If you say to someone that these things are great, but there's going to be, as with anything, a price to pay. Yeah. So your night might have been the best of your life. The morning was probably the fucking
the next 4 or 5 days you're fucked.
Yeah, but it's important to recognise that with all of these things. Yeah. And I want to come back round to the treatment of actually, you know what? Fuck it, let's go now because we can stick on the so. For those who don't know, MDMA, which is basically the part of ecstasy that is the bit that makes you happy and makes you, as you said, feel like. I truly believe that me taking that MDMA helped me overcome my PTSD. And the reason why I feel that is because I felt for the first time in years connected to something bigger than myself again. Yeah. And MDMA is now, it's been passed in trials with the Americans, and it's going to be, I think it's 2022, it's going to be a what would you call it? Licensed drug. Yeah. So there is definitely a component. Now, I do not condone self-medication. Yeah. No. But the fact is, it does make you feel something better. But the interesting thing in that is recognizing that was something you were missing, which is probably not something you realized, right? Yeah.
Well, the thing for me, what I found was the whole scene. I didn't realize how much I left behind in the army. You don't know it's gone until it's not there anymore. So you're kind of clutching at straws. How do I fill this void? You know, I've got this big empty gap in my life and I don't know what to do with it. So that funny little pill was like the glue that made everything else make sense, like the music, the people, the clothes, the culture, the club scene. That pill made that all make sense for those couple of hours. Yeah. And it put them on the same wavelength. But the problem with that was when you meet those same people out of work hours, you've got fuck all in common with them. Yeah. You don't even speak to them and think, I've got nothing in common with you.
Look, there's a very interesting thing about the nature of addictions. Okay. So let's talk about cannabis for a second. So I've never taken drugs in my life. I a bad reaction if I even take kind of codeine. You can have two people in a room. You and I can go into a room. Okay, everything in my life is perfect. Everything in your life is not. Somebody can offer me a spliff. I can try it and go, actually, I can take it or leave it. But if you're missing something, or if your brain has been psychologically traumatized and you're not having any respite and you're not sleeping properly and you don't feel relaxed and you don't feel at ease, and you kind of take some cannabis and you go, wow, that has just helped.
Kind of want some fucking weed now, man.
That is.
I've got some.
I'm sold.
Was my acting that good?
Yeah, fuck, you sold it on me, man.
But believe it or not, there is the trigger for addiction. So when we do addiction work, okay, I would not look at the drugs the way they've been used. I would look at what was the driver for the very first time that you took something and what was your reaction.
Well, the thing is, I was never addicted to any drugs. I was addicted to the lifestyle. And moving on from taking those little pills on a weekend, I think meeting my wife at the time, I stopped going out and getting hammered because she wasn't into that. So I thought,
So you mean drinking?
Drinking, drugs, everything. Right. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, I was on it for 3 days. Right. And I lost 3 years of my life because 3 days I was on it and then the other 4 days I was recovering. Yeah, of course. So those 3 years were from 95 to 98 were a blur.
Well, what goes up must come down.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very quickly.
I say so on that human trafficking movie, what goes up must come down and down and down.
And down and keeps going down. And then I kind of got half sensible-ish. I stopped going out partying and then I kind of got involved in the coke scene in 2002. And because of the market for pills, I mean, I was doing 10, 15, 20,000 pills a week is what I was putting out across the Southwest.
So you were selling pills at this point?
I was selling pills at that point, yeah. Okay. From 96 onwards, I was involved in distribution from buying my first...
So, sorry, mate. How did you end up going from taking a pill for the first time? You don't have to give out too much detail, mate. But I
got a list of names now.
Well, give them for me. Phone me. I'll give them a bell later. Going from that point of taking one to distributing one. Obviously, there must have been a couple of steps in there.
Yeah. So basically, what it is doing the CP work, self-employed. Now, what I found was with a poor ability to manage my money is the best way I'll put it. I was shit with money, basically.
As are
most squaddies.
Yeah. Millionaires weekends.
I still am to a point. I'm better now. I found that the work I was doing with self-employment wasn't necessarily paying, or hadn't managed that money correctly to allow for time to sort of elapse to allow for, say, checks to clear, for example. So I'd be up against it. And the one lad that was getting our pills for us, he was buying 5 pills a week for a few of us. He said, I can't do it anymore. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I thought, well, fuck it. I'll do it. It's only 5 fucking pills. I can cheek that or put it in the pocket. It's not really a problem. That was it. I bought 4 pills. This guy said, well, take a 5th one for free. I thought, I got mine for nothing then. And that was that initial start. So it was people not paying me for the work I had done. So, and some of the guys, you put in 10, 15 hours on a surveillance job, and you present them with an invoice and you say, right, I'll need my money. Let's say 150 quid, because back in the 90s, it wasn't a large wage. And they said, I'm not going to pay you. He said, well, why not? Well, you haven't got a result. I can't guarantee some fucker's going to come out of his house and do something. I can only watch the premises for that amount of time and give you a log. He said, well, I'm not going to pay you. Yeah. And I couldn't compute that. I couldn't figure out, well, why isn't he fucking paying me? Because I've done the work. And I thought, well, this guy selling me the pills is guaranteeing me a wage. And I kind of gradually transitioned from going on the straight and narrow, doing surveillance, CP work, which I really love, because that ticked all the boxes, to selling drugs, which also ticked all the boxes, but it also paid me.
Let me ask you this, mate, because I'll say this as well. Like, I'm massively incriminating myself on this podcast, but let's just say that, if you are doing something that's illegal, let's be quite honest, there can be a fucking rush in that.
Yeah.
What is the reason you joined the military for? For a rush.
Yeah.
What do you lose? There's that, and that is something that you look, that risk taking. Yeah. It's enjoyable and it's addictive, and that's a fucking fact that needs to be recognised. I think
that's my addiction, is the risk. And the way I look at it is, at 20, like most of us, it was normal for me to patrol the streets in Armagh with a loaded weapon with people trying to actively kill me. That to me felt normal. You know, so when you've lived through that, and you guys doing Afghanistan and the Herrick's and the Telex and everything else, you guys have normalised the most brutal things. So when you come out of the forces, everything else is acceptable. Yeah. Those big risks, people wouldn't, they would shit their pants if you thought of taking an ounce of coke. Yeah. I picked up 50 kg of coke in Spain from the Colombians on my own, and I fucking loved it. Because it was something to do, because I enjoyed the fact that I could get in a lot of trouble doing this. I could either get killed by the Colombians or get arrested by the Spanish police. But I did it, and I got through it.
Your buzz was probably nothing that drugs could... The act of buying those was probably more than any drug you could match.
Well, you go into a patrol state, because when you do a patrol, you conduct yourself in a certain manner, don't you, wherever you are. When you're transiting sort of substances, whether it be from one town to another or from one country to another, you go into that same patrol state. And I went across over to Spain some years ago. I won't say when, I don't want to incriminate anyone, to do a job. Now, the job was to pick up cocaine from the Colombians. And my link was down in Fengarola. Rang him up. Scouser answered. I thought, fucking hell, fucking Scouser, here we go. I thought, I'm in trouble already. Yeah, sorry, any Scousers.
King's Regiment.
I got down there, and in the back of the car, on a hire car, and I always take my old army sleeping bag for 2 reasons. One, in case I break down, it's warm. Secondly, if the police do pull you and they see an army sleeping bag, and they might give you a little bit of a break. For your ex-forces, and it's kind of like that little get-out-of-jail-free card, almost. So the guy I met up with, big lad, didn't know him from Adam, said, I want to check your car over, make sure it's okay to do this job. He saw my sleeping bag in the back. He goes, oh, in forces? I said, yeah. He goes, I was in the Green Jackets. I thought, fucking hell. There you go. And then his link was a guy in the Paras. Yeah. So there were 3 veterans in Spain, didn't know each other previously, met up from 3 different organisations, and we were almost like a mercenary setup. And because we're all ex-squaddies, we knew how we worked, transiting the goods from A to B. And that was what I found was, through my journey of 15 years of organised crime, I came across squaddies all the time. I'll say this as well, through when I was on the party scene, very much in America and stuff, I found squaddies at every level of them, because there was a few things that they were there for. Looking for a high, literal, and fucking, they wanted something outside the ordinary because that's what they were used to.
they were looking for community.
Yeah.
They were looking for an experience that was not normal life. And I have found this again and again and again. The amount of times where I'll go places and they'll get talking and they'll be like, oh yeah, I was in, and they're like, oh, you Army? I was Marines. And I've got it from all over the world. And it just makes so much sense.
And weird thing is all of a sudden that regimental rivalry that you would have had when you were scrapping in a local town, that's gone.
That's unified.
The banter is there, you're unified, because you've served, you're now doing the same job, albeit illegal. You're together. You're that band of brothers again. So you're doing the thing.
Here's the thing about the legality, mate, and this is something that I think is an interesting one. Is one of the things, right? It's in the Bible, thou shalt not fucking kill, right? You and me and Cormac right now, we can't go outside and kill someone here, right? We all know that. But we've done a job where it was not only, like, violence was not only acceptable, it was rewarded. You go out and take it out an enemy position and bayonet people in the face, you're getting a fucking medal for that, and you've got a career for the rest of your life on the back of it.
Yeah.
So we were basically rewarded for not breaking the law because it's war, but breaking the laws of man, breaking the commandments of, because our law as a society is based on a lot of religious stuff. And you're going out there doing stuff that you're not supposed to do. So mentally, like, you're almost in that villain mindset of like, well, I was killing people and that was okay. So why isn't it okay for me to, like, I'm not saying you have that conversation with yourself, but it's subconsciously, that has to be a part of it, right?
It's interesting you say that, because King's College are doing some research at the moment, and they contacted me this over recently. They're now coming up with a new diagnosis called the moral injury.
Right.
And that is the person post-war looking back at their actions, where children have been killed, women have been killed, pilots who have dropped bombs and wiped out communities. They're out of the war situation, and they're now reflecting on, what I did, was it morally actually right? Now, you know as well as I do, you get the CO's orders. You know what his mission is. You go out to make sure his mission succeeds. That's something else that we're not teaching people about, is the moral aspect of what actually happens in war. Now, the thing is, do you put a big emphasis on it, or do you put a small emphasis on it? I think modern society, regardless of what people talk about young kids being snowflakes and so forth, this is a very thinking generation compared to what we were. We just went and did everything we were told to do. They maybe might look at it differently. Maybe that'll shift the way politics happens in the world. I'm not too sure. But I think you will find in the next 5-10 years, you will hear more and more about the moral injury.
Yeah. Well, I find it very, but like, I'm fucking, it's one of the things I do. I look into things. I try, and that's something I do with my job, right? I find it very hard to tally up that I have shot someone, and that's okay. But if I go to town and I've got a 1/4 ounce of coke on me, I could get locked up. I find it very hard to tally those two things together. Like, I know, because people will be listening right now and say, oh, well, one was for your queen and country. Was it? Was it really?
It's the same behaviour traits, though, isn't it? That's what fucks me off. When we join the forces, we are rewarded for doing the things which people wouldn't normally do.
Yes.
You take someone's life, never fucking sleep, piss wet clothes all the time. We demonstrate the same behaviour as civilians. No matter what it is we're doing, we're demonstrating the same behavioural traits. We get penalised for it, and we get ostracised and put in fucking prison.
And I think it's look, I'm not saying that we should get a fucking free pass to do that forever. No. But the idea that so there's a lad from Wrexham, we're in Wrexham right now recording. There's a lad from Wrexham who he came back on R&R from Afghan. So he'd been on the front line in Afghanistan 48 hours before. He comes back, someone looks at his fucking missus wrong. He says something, the lad calls him a cunt, he bangs him out, he's out the army, and he's fucking banged up.
Yeah.
That, to me, is criminal on the part of the people who locked him up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that because he was in Afghan, he gets to go around banging people out for the rest of his life. But if you were rewarding him 1 minute, and then 48 hours later, like, he's been in a position where if he sees a threat, he has to react to it because it means the death of people.
Yeah.
You can't ask a fucking robot to turn off that quickly. No, you cannot ask an 18-year-old fucking lad. It's absolutely fucking wrong.
And the judges there's no mitigation. On my trial, which we can go into that in a bit, I was under 2 trials. When you have been found guilty, if you're unfortunate, there's mitigation of why you.
Well, let's go into your trial, mate. So, and then we'll go into this.
Yeah. So going back in 2010, it started coming on top. When I mean that, it means I'm fucked.
Right.
People started getting arrested, runners getting pulled with drugs on them, etc., etc. And you think to yourself, yeah, I'm in trouble here. So you bunker down, you get ready for the hit. You start looking at damage limitation. You start thinking, at some point, they're going to come for me. I don't know when, but at some point, I'm going to get a knock on the door. And fair enough, about 6 months later on, April 2011, I was at work, I had my own business, everything. I was actually almost set up.
So they built. This is them. That they've built a case, and they're turning people. And it's,
they're nicking people sort of periodically across a series of months, as well as a pretty intense investigation. So April the 14th, I think, so Tuesday morning, sat outside my place of work. I look out through the door and I see 3 unmarked cars pull up. I thought, this is it. Right. Just knew straight away, but I didn't react. I just thought, this is it. Because I don't get 3 unmarked cars pull up outside at 8 o'clock in the morning for no other reason. So I walked out and said, good morning. Neil got out. So, Mr. Jones, you're under arrest for conspiracy to supply cocaine. Anything you say, blah, blah, blah. So I just sat and I thought, I'm just going to say nothing. So you go into a state of shock, I guess. It's no fucking surprise I'm being arrested because I knew what was going to happen. But what you are not ready for is what you're going to go through emotionally at that stage. You're not thinking about what's happening at home. So I said, should I give my wife a call and let her know? They said, I think she already knows. And I thought, fuck the search in the house. So now I'm thinking, right, my wife's going to be scared. My kids are going to be as scared. What are the neighbours going to say? Right. All these things.
Did your wife know that you were into this?
No, not a clue. I lived a life. None of my family had a fucking clue what I was doing.
So this double life, was that an excitement thing as well?
Part of, I think, but that also kind of destroyed a lot of relationships. It hampered my ability to have a proper relationship with my family because I distanced myself. Right. I mean, the forces, fortunately or unfortunately, trained me to be very good at being covert in certain things. And that's what I used, was that training ability to remain covert to all the people I cared about, to protect them, to keep them safe. Because I know people that have been sent down for years and their wives have gone down with them because they were aware of what they were doing. They were party to their
So it's almost like that, again, is that kind of like, that's like, because some people will say that like it's, some people obviously, if someone's like really anti this, they're anti this. But it's like, for me, I see that as like a selfless act that you're trying to, and I'm not condoning conspiracy to supply cocaine. Right? I'm not supplying that, but I do think that then you need to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes, and I think that if you're doing that and then you are insulating people, then you're doing that from because it's that there's that act of selflessness like you have in. It's like if you stand on a mine, you don't want your mates to get blown up with you. That kind of.
You kind of in the back of your mind, you're thinking at some point if anyone gets involved in the distribution of drugs, and I'm not going to condone that, but if someone gets involved in it, they have to have in the back of their mind, at some point I'm going to get arrested and I'm going to go to prison, and it could be for a long time. And if you know that consciously, how can you willingly involve everyone around you that you care about and drag them into that world? So I was arrested with conspiracy by Avon and Somerset Serious Organised Crime, which is now rebadged as the NCA, back in 2013. They bailed me, had my interview, went fine. I was arrested again 3 or 4 months later on by Gloucestershire and Thames Valley Police, Serious Organised Crime again, and they remanded me in Gloucester Prison, which is now closed. So you go through a process the first time in jail. You see it on the television, but there's nothing. I believe you've popped in, visited.
Yeah, I popped in, mate, and I've got to say that even just being in the prison for an afternoon, I could see that, because I wasn't over my PTSD at the time. Everyone that looked at me, I wanted to punch them in the face. It was just, I just felt threat everywhere, and
it is like that constantly. And if you're unfortunate and you do have a mental health condition in prison, and we can go into that in a bit, you are constantly on the defensive, which can then put you on the offensive. Because if someone looks at you the wrong way, you are going to either go for them or you're not. It's one of two ways. So I got nicked. I was bailed. I was on tag for 9 months, which was fantastic. And that was a time then to sort of kind of like lie to everyone about, I didn't do it. So I was just bullshitting everyone. So no, it's a horrible fucking mistake. And I was doing that because I was going to run a trial. Now, if you don't understand how trials work, when you get arrested and you start doing the court process, it usually takes about a year before you come to trial. You have the opportunity to put in a plea of guilty or not guilty. Now, if you put your hands up straight away, so I did it, you got me, you get a discount. of up to 30% or a third of his sentence off, which is quite a lot when you're looking at a number of years. At that stage, I didn't know how long I was looking at. I thought, no, fuck it, I'll run a trial. If I say guilty, it means I've got to accept to my family and my friends that I've done that.
Right.
And look what I've become. I thought I'd rather roll the dice and risk it and see where it turns out. But with 2 counts of conspiracy against me, it was pretty fucking hard. Even my barrister said, it's going to be significantly difficult to get you off. I thought, but there is a chance.
Yeah.
so it's not completely out. So there's some hope. He said, yeah, but it is very difficult. And he's being very polite. He should have said I was fucked. I would have still ran a trial because I didn't want to accept in front of my family of who I'd become over those years. So I ran trial. It was like a Simpsons moment. We stood up and I was the only one in the dock with 2 counts against me. And our co-defendants on both sides. It was that big. There were 13 of us. We had to run 2 trials.
Wow.
But I ran both of my counts of conspiracy on 1 trial. And the jury are out deliberate. And that's probably one of the most nerve-wracking moments in my life, is the fact that someone else or 12 people that don't know you, they think they know you're going to decide your fate.
Yeah, that's fucking mental.
You know, and you're thinking, and they're looking at you during a trial like you're a piece of fucking shit. And yeah, I was a piece of shit. I wasn't a nasty bastard, but I was just drug dealer, scum. That's how they would see me. They didn't see me as the veteran. They didn't see the background behind that. They just saw me as someone involved in drugs. And when they come out and the form of the jury stands up and they say, yeah, we've come to a conclusion, whatever it's called, or a verdict, you all stand up. And they said the guys on the right were the guys supplying me. I won't give names. One of them was from a Serbian network and didn't even fucking know I was working with Serbians, but that makes it sound really cool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. They said, right, how did you find this person? Guilty. You see in the public gallery, his whole fucking life fall apart, all his family screaming and crying. It's all very emotional. Next guy, guilty. And then it's my turn. How did you find Mr. Jones? Not guilty. I thought, and I'm not a religious man, but I thought, thank you. I looked up, thank you. And they delivered not guilty to the next 2 guys on my left. And I said, how did you find Mr. Jones of count 2? Guilty. Oh, fuck. Yeah. And that was it. And then said, right, take him down. And that was it. You take him down the back. And he's sentenced. About 5 weeks later, on whilst the various police and probation do various reports on you and sort of pre-sentence planning and reports and everything else, you wait for sentencing. So you're in a remand prison, which is fucking shite. My first experience, I was put into the Bristol, not that you know I was from Bristol, on a place on G-Wing, big wings, like you imagine the old Victorian prisons, 4 floors high, full of people who are very paranoid because they're on remand. They haven't been found guilty. They're just waiting for their trials to come off. So a lot of paranoia going around. I remember I'd been in prison for the one night. I thought I need a shower. So I walked across the landing, communal shower, walked in, someone taking a shit on the floor.
Jesus.
And I thought, I don't know if I can bother with this. And I thought, I've got however many years to come of this. So I walked back out again. It finds out, I won't go into, this could be a long story, but I'll keep it quite short. Because of my military background and how I conducted myself, like you saying, assessing threats and everything else, I was kind of looking around. They thought I was undercover police. Because I don't fit a common criminal profile. Right. I don't look like someone that supplies cocaine. I don't look like someone that's involved.
You don't have a moustache like Pablo Escobar.
No, I shaved it off, mate. So so I kind of like the whole wing thought I was undercover police.
So what?
And that's pretty bad.
So, okay, so if a wing thinks you're undercover police, does that mean they leave you alone, or does that mean they come after you?
No, it means it could go one of 2 ways. One, they didn't speak to me, which I didn't find necessarily a bad thing because I had nothing in common with them anyway. Even when I moved to a different wing and I got onto a smaller wing with single cells, and this is broken into something called spurs, and it means you've got a short wing with rooms each side, single man cells, and there are 8 people on this wing. I walked in there, go on the right, what a co-defendant, which means someone I was charged with. Guy next to him, another co-defendant. Guy next to him, supplied him with coke in Oxford. Guy next to him, did some work with him down south. Guy next to him, I knew anyway. So out of the 8 cells, I knew 5 of them. Right. 3 of them were previous customers. All of a sudden, I wasn't undercover anymore. But that just shows the network and the level that things are working at. You know, and that changed things. You know, because they think, well, these guys, they can vouch for me now. Yeah. You know, but yeah, you get your sentencing. I think 5 weeks later on, again, you stood in the dock again, and the judge will. This is where you come to mitigation, as I was saying, and the judge will then go through the whole of the conspiracy, everyone involved, and he'll read out a bit of a script of each person why he thinks he's come to this conclusion of how you're going to get so long. He doesn't say you're going to get this many years. He'll just sort of slip it in there. And he'll talk about it. And all I heard was blah, 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 15 years, blah, 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 blah. And I looked across my wife and I just see her like just starting to go down. And my dad and my stepmother there, they was looking across. And I thought, I sort of mouthed it. Did he say 15 years?
Oh, my God.
And they went, yeah, 15. He went, fucking hell, that's a long time. I was expecting about 10 or 11.
Mate, what's the attitude when you're being judged? Because obviously that's what, you know, a judge is doing, right? When they're judging you, do you feel that they are judging you as a human being rather than they're judging you on a crime that you did? You know, so instead of being like, right, here's your speeding ticket, you were doing 60 in a 50, are they like, you are an immoral person and all that? Did you feel like you were getting kind of dissected as a human being?
Yeah, the judge's script is as such where he's trying to say why he's justifying giving you such sentence. And I thought for 1 minute, because I've served, that's some sort of mitigation. I've given up some of my time for my country, and I was quite willing to die for the job, for the lads I stood next to. I would have taken anything, you know. I was happy to do that, and I still would. For that, is he going to give me a bit of time off? And he looked at me, and he said, I understand you're serving in the forces, but your biggest mitigation is accepting guilt in the face of overwhelming odds, Mr. Jones. I would have given you 14 years, but I'm going to give you 15. So my service meant nothing. And so many guys inside don't get that recognition.
So there's no recognition. I want to get this clear as well. You don't think that you should be allowed to go around supplying cocaine, right?
No, that's bad.
Okay, yeah,
that's bad.
Exactly. Let's get that out the way, right? And I don't think you should be allowed to go around doing it either. I do, as I've said on the podcast before, I do believe there should be decriminalization, but that's a whole different fucking topic, right? Right now, it's illegal. You can't go around and you do it. That's the bottom line.
Completely agree.
That's the bottom line. That being said, there is if I'm getting beaten up by if I get beaten up by a person and I fight back and I end up killing that person, that is going to be taken into account that there's a reason that these things happen. If someone has been beaten up by their father their entire life and then one day they end up turning around and they stab their dad, that's going to be taken into account. This stuff needs to be getting taken into account. Have you seen any evidence, Cormac, you'll probably be the best one to ask this, have you seen any evidence that this is beginning to happen, that they are taking into account the fact that you are, because I'm assuming that, well, I mean, I know from experience, like there's a lot of lads that I know get banged up for being violent. Their job has been to be violent. Is there any fucking, like, is there any of this actually getting taken into account?
From my personal experience with the work I've done, no. In fact, it probably goes against somebody if they've got a military background, because the interpretation is actually you're trained to do this, you should have hit them slightly differently. Look, there's a really interesting thing. There's a guy, obviously we're not going to name any names here. He has a picture, okay? So he grew up Army cadets. In school, had problems with dyslexia, but no other problems, okay? And he and his friends were determined they're going to join the army. And he has a picture of 10 that were taken when they were army cadets. One was killed in Afghanistan, one has a job, and the other 8 are in jail.
Right.
None of them got any, the guys that went to jail got absolutely no consideration taken in that they're actually serving. In fact, in one court case, the judge queried whether the guy had actually deployed at all, because nobody had represented him saying this is his army career.
Right. You know what? I want to come back to something real, because while it's my mind right. We were saying earlier about the whole mental health thing, and we got to ask, where do guys come from that join the army? And obviously, a lot come from not great backgrounds, right? Yeah. When someone leaves the army, they go back to where they started from, usually. Exactly. So if you are from, let's say, fucking Ronva, no offense, Ronva, if you are from Ronva and everything you knew was poverty and a shit area, when you leave the army, you're going back there, and let's be honest, you can say what you like about resettlement. Some people think it's great. Like, it's fucking shit, really, when you boil it down. You're going to go back to that area. Your mates are going to be the mates that you had as kids. And a lot of them, not all of them, but what are the chances are, if you were a naughty kid, let's say, I'm using air quotes here, a naughty kid, your mates now, some of them will have done a stretch by this point. Yeah. Some of them might be still inside. Some of them are definitely going to be selling drugs. And I think, my warrior lot, my warrior when we were in Iraq, a couple of those lads both ended up inside. Well, three of them have been in out of 6 of us. You know, out of 7 of us, three have been inside.
Was that since they left service?
Since they left the service,
All right.
they all went. One of them for violence, and the other 2 for drugs.
Yeah.
And it's like let's be honest. You're in a shitty area. The employment opportunities aren't great, and as you know, the army money in the army is not great. But you might be on 30 grand, which is a lot in some places. Yeah. But you know how you can be fucking on 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand. You're not going to be doing it driving a forklift.
No.
You know, and it's and then you add on to the top of it all this other stuff. You can see why fucking people do it. Like, and if you can't see that and you're listening and you've got your you're on your high horse right now, then you can fuck off and stop listening to this podcast, because if you can't put yourself in that person's shoes and see how that can happen, doesn't mean you should do it.
No.
But you should be able to see how that can happen.
It's good that you said that, because it brings me on to something I was doing while I was inside. Because when you go away, I mean, I had to do 7.5 years in prison, half my sentence. Now, when you get sent down, you're inside probation, then as your offender supervisor, will set you a sentence plan. They'll say, right, don't fuck up, become enhanced, which means you get all the special treats that you would get, like an Xbox, DVD player. You do get all that stuff in there, but you have to earn that right. Yeah. And they'll give you a plan to say, well, if you're in for violence, we need you to do victim awareness as a course, as a booklet. If you're in for drugs, you might do something linked with substance misuse, etc., etc. So I thought, at what point during my sentence and during my transition out of the forces, has anyone said to me, let's address your behaviour as a veteran. Let's look at your triggers, at what makes you offend. And there's nothing in the prison system which will address veterans specifically because of their behavioural traits and how they act. So I sat back and I did some research with limited resources. I found that there's nothing for veterans. So I spoke to the people in charge of interventions, which do all the programmes and these courses. I said, can I write my own programme for veterans in custody? Because I was representing veterans inside anyway. They said, yeah, go for it. So I did. I wrote Project TLS, which is my own course, which I put together, focusing on the transition out of the forces, which we were speaking about literally, about you'll come out of the forces with all the same problems you had before you went away. Yeah. But just as a trained fucking killer. Yeah. With all these issues.
Who's addicted to excitement.
Yeah. You know, so you think you're a time bomb. So I wrote this course based on these different modules, and I was working in Oakwood with that course, delivering it. Cormac sat on the course on course 1, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did 5 case studies with 5 complex cases. Went really well. The results showed that they had shown improvement at the end of each course on their awareness of the problems they could face when coming out of the forces. We then did the test pilot, didn't we, back in 2017?
2017, yeah.
2017.
And for everybody who went through the course, we did a series of what's known as psychometric testing. So we looked at their anxiety levels before, during and after, and depression and so forth. And the average score for everybody on day 1 was 17. 6 weeks later, 1.7. So I went, actually, this is actually quite dramatic.
Okay.
But the guys are actually reporting because one of the parts of the course that Richie wrote was actually about risk assessment. So we did a second course and we started getting the exact same results the whole time. So there's a pattern to what he's doing. But there's the important thing about kind of risk. People need to understand risk does not mean driving 125, 140 miles an hour down a motorway. Risk is whatever you do that's risky. So for example, you know what it's like in the military. You're asked to do a job. You can either go through the sequence of 1 to 10, or you can start at 1 and just jump to 10 and bypass everything in the middle because it's irrelevant. You just get there quicker. What I found was when I left, I was dealing with a lot of civilians, and they were methodical. They wanted to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, right up to 10. And I think this is where the irritation of coming with civilians, no disrespect to any civilians actually listening to this. And what I actually found was when I was making decisions, I was going from 1 to 10. Anything that came in between, as far as I was concerned, was irrelevant. And then people saying, actually, you can't do that. You are putting yourself at risk. So risk doesn't necessarily mean putting life in danger. It's just how you interpret what's actually going on and how you deal with it.
It could be risk with money, which is one of the biggest problems for a lot of squaddies. And I say squaddies in Army because we are the worst out of all the tri-service for money management. You go out and spunk the fucking lot on one weekend and you just manage for the rest of the month.
Yes, that's it, man. Look, man, I've been terrible with money as well. And again, it's not an excuse to say that like, oh, it's all the Army's fault. I have personal responsibility for that. Yeah. But we have to acknowledge that when the culture is millionaires weekends and spending all your money on the piss, then the army does have some responsibility there because that's the army's culture. So it's there's responsibility on both sides.
Because you're kind of like forced to go. The NAFI bar doesn't exist anymore, but you used to be forced to go down the bar and spend your fucking money.
If you say, I don't want to fucking, I don't want to do mess dues, I don't want to spend my money on mess dues, and I don't want to go on the piss and stuff, then enjoy your fucking extra duties.
Yeah. Stag on, mate.
Can you remember several years ago, you didn't have to buy your food. There was no such thing as pay as you dine.
It was,
so you could actually blow your money in 3 days. And you knew you're still going to be fed for the rest of the month.
3 days amateur, mate.
Done in one night.
But didn't it used to be the rule that back in the day, you couldn't, because of the Northern Ireland thing, you couldn't get into debt. Like there was a rule on the debt thing that if you were in too much debt, it was a court-martial offence because that left you open for manipulation.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not necessarily related to Northern Ireland. It was actually the Cold War.
Oh, cool.
So what they were doing, we were looking at people that kind of would frequent brothels and get into debt. And they would kind of...
AKA every squad in Germany.
On the Reaper bank.
So, and there was. And for people who got into debt, they would actually take the bank card off them, the checkbook off them, pay them on a daily basis or a weekly basis.
I'm in favour of bringing that back to some degree. Because one of the things that happens, right, you go on operational tour, you come back, everyone goes out and buys a new fucking Saxo, and then buys a fucking giant bat wing to go across the back of it. And it's like, how much is your insurance on this? $2,000. And they can afford that the first year, and then the second year they're fucked. And then the lads every month they're selling the fucking TVs, and then they get paid, they buy another one. And like again, you can say there's responsibility on them, but they're fucking 18-year-old lads. They need to be taught this stuff. And to be fair, there are some people out there trying to make an effort on this. But I keep saying, if you're a platoon commander out there listening, go to your local financial advice group and ask them. I'm sure someone will give up some hours to come in and help the lads. Because here's the thing: my parents offered me this advice, but you know what? You don't listen to your parents.
No. Why would you?
Yeah, exactly. No, fuck off.
Well, I go into bases now. Part of what I'm doing with TLS is going into active bases, RF Cosford, 2-2 signals. I do a lot of presentations now talking about that journey of that transition, trying to get the awareness for these young lads. And you've got people now, and you can probably relate to this, is people that joined the forces in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years, joined up because they were likely to go to war. Because they wanted to go to war. They can't fucking handle peacetime because it's too fucking boring for them. So
and
they're going
boring.
out
and here's the thing, right? I like right now, what's my fucking day looking like today? I've recorded a podcast this morning, recording you guys this afternoon. I've been in the gym. That's my work day. Pretty fucking awesome, right? And I want to go back to walking around, maybe getting blown up.
Yeah.
And I'll say, mate, I've never bought 50 kilos of coke. But here's the thing, I will definitely say that there is an excitement in breaking excitement in breaking the law, right? And again, if you can't put yourself in, these guys wanted to join for war. They need the excitement. Some of them had the excitement. I think it's actually maybe even worse for the lads that have not had the excitement. Because they're looking for something that they missed out on the wars, and they want something to fill that.
If they joined up just slightly too late.
It is another thing as well, mate.
I mean, if you actually think about it, because we don't have any war, recruitment is down. Army, Air Force, Navy. I guarantee you, you declare war tomorrow, people knocking door. But if you go back a bit and talk about people who served, we're not talking about people who deployed and did one operational tour. I knew one guy, 8 years, 6 operational tours, 1 Iraq, 5 Afghanistan, a guy that was actually in the Marines. And if you look also, we had people doing back-to-back tours the whole time. We weren't preparing them properly. I mean, you do 6 months tour, you come home for a month, and you're back out there again.
Well, you go straight into you come back and you go straight into the operational training for the next one, which is why you need that. But this is why it's so crazy that there's not then the de-escalation on the end of it. One of the things I want to talk about with drugs though as well is the I watched I don't know if you guys have seen Top Boy, the new a new show on Netflix. It was like one of the #1 shows on Netflix recently, and it's about drug dealers in London, and obviously it's dramatized. But when I watched that, you know what I saw? I saw excitement. I saw brotherhood. And I thought, fuck, it's no wonder lads from these areas. And here's the thing, like if you're from the army, these are the areas to go in and fucking recruit lads from, because they're fucking, they want to, like, they have that warrior spirit in their own right, but it's being utilized in the wrong way. But if you can harness that, then you've got great fucking soldiers. But the fact was, watching that show, I was like, I can see why this is so attractive to people. Like, why gang culture? People want to fucking slag gang culture. And again, if you live in Bath, in a fucking middle class home, you're from Bath, don't be fucking, you can't be, unless you put yourself in the shoes of someone, you're not going to understand why someone from a fucking shit area of London is going to want to get into that kind of thing. You have to have empathy with this stuff, right? Doesn't mean you're condoning it, but you have to see where people are coming from.
But the British Army is a fucking great big gang, isn't it?
It is a gang, mate.
It's the biggest fucking gang going.
Mate, but here's the thing, right? Yeah. If I'd have grown up in fucking Compton in LA, you don't really go and join the army from there, but you join what your army is probably the local gang.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, mate. If you and I had grown up in fucking, if we were Muslim and we grown up in Tower Hamlets, I would 100% ended up in fucking ISIS. Because the traits that they recruit on, they're looking for someone that wants a bigger purpose. They're looking for someone that wants adventure. They're looking for someone that wants excitement, that wants brotherhood. If you look at ISIS recruitment documents, you break it down. When you actually break it down, it's exactly the same as British Army recruiting. Yeah, and that's a fact. Like, and people are going to be no. Just look at it objectively, and it's the same thing. You're appealing to the same those same fucking.
How many times in the past have people gone to court, and we're looking 20, 30, 40 years ago? They've committed a crime, and the judges said you've got two options: you go to jail or you join the army. Yeah, you know, and I know you were talking about people who leave and go back to Wales and so forth, and I think it's very important for people to remember this is usually soldiers who've served 3 to 6 years, but there are soldiers who've come in and done 22 years. Yep. They've never gone back to it. They've learned so many more new skills, and it's actually done them a lot of favour. Going back to what Richie said, it's what do we do with the guys who are transitioning after 3 to 6 years? Yeah. I think that's a massive, massive issue that needs to be addressed.
And look, it's kind of funny how you mentioned that. It's gone like, it used to be, you fucked up, go and join the army, it'll sort you out. Yeah. Now it's, you're in the army and you fuck up, it's like, right, go to prison. Yeah. Well, hang on, that's kind of like the wrong way around. If anything, it should be, you know what, you fucked up, you need to be punished, but this is the best way, because we have to be thinking what is the best long term for the individual and society. So let's just let's look at this dispassionately for a moment. If you take a lad who has fucked up in, let's say he's fucked up in the army. So what are you going to do? You're going to kick him out and he's going to go and do a stretch. First of all, you're having to, instead of getting work out of someone, it's now costing the taxpayer for him to be inside, and you're not getting work out of him. When he comes out, he's probably going to be, if he's not traumatized already, he now is after prison. Yeah. He's going to be more angry. He's going to be more violent. He's probably not going to want to be he's probably going to, like, because for every guy that's like you that's come out, mate, there's a lot of guys that have gone the other way, right? Yeah. He's probably, and then what will happen is, because to be honest, mate, almost everyone I know that's gone into the stretch, they'll come out and they become more criminal. Yeah. So, you know, their families probably aren't going to work, so that's obviously costing the taxpayer as well. Yeah. It's just a net fucking negative for every single person and country involved.
But maybe the solution here is if you look at guys who go to Colchester, which is the military training correctional centre, essentially a military prison. Colchester will take people for up to 12 months. Okay, how many times have you known people go to Colchester, get a 6-month stretch, go and do their time, do all the weapons training, get fit again, and come out recommended for promotion?
Well, Dean Starr, who we did the Veteran State of Mind Live with, he said that he absolutely loved, apart from getting the break on pay, he loved being in Colchester. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we should have people go to Colchester for 3 years. Yeah. Maybe like, because look, again, I'm not saying people shouldn't get fucking punished. Yeah. But I do think that, like, and right, so I'm going on the record with this. If someone is come back from an operational tour and they hit somebody, to send that person to prison is insane. Yeah. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that now that the recruiting numbers are struggling, that's not happening. Yeah. That only happened when they were trying to get the redundancies.
Well, they've actually just opened up. They're now accepting people into the army who've been to prison.
And they're also accepting people that they kicked out for drugs. Yeah. They are now not just accepting them back, actively going after them to recruit. Yeah. Again, I think that is criminal on behalf of the army. One thing that I have a massive fucking issue with, I'd love your opinion on this, is guys that fail drug tests in the army being kicked out with no rehabilitation or anything like that.
I've got opinions on this one. Now, I think if someone tests positive for usually cocaine, let's face it, a lot of guys now, it's become socially acceptable.
Well, let's be honest, mate. Like, it is to coke now and coke and MDMA and weed now is what alcohol was almost.
Yeah.
You know, like it's and cat and everything. It's
Yeah.
it's there. It's not in a scene anymore. It's everywhere.
You just click your fingers and you probably got it within seconds. Now, if some squad is out on leave and he goes back and meets his civvy mates, which let's face it, that's what happens.
Yep.
They've all gone and bought a couple of bags of coke or a couple of bags of pills. They're on it. There's a sneaky little sniff. Just one little line, gets back, gets piss tested. Right, you're out, mate. Let's look at the reasons why he's doing that. Let's look at the reason why why is he suddenly decided, whereas all these years he's not done it, all of a sudden he's now started taking drugs. Let's have a chat with him. Let's do some sort of, I'm not saying counselling. Let's start putting him on the programme. Let's piss test him periodically.
Yeah.
If he stays clean, he stays straight, we'll give him a second chance. If he fucks up within this 6-month probationary period, you're fucking gone, mate. You lose everything.
I mean, let's the thing. A lad that starts using opiates. Let's look at the fact of, right, he's always been a great fucking soldier. He's done 3 operational tours. One of his close mates died on that second one. Yeah. Now he's using opiates. There might be a fucking connection here. But you know what I do? Let's boot him out with a dishonourable discharge, no rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And then what's he going to do? Probably sell those drugs because now he needs to support a habit.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter. If you're someone that's listening going, oh, fuck anyone who does that, right? Just look at it from a dispassionate point of view. What benefit is it to anybody that he's then being kicked out without that and he's still got that problem? But now, so he's going to probably end up having to claim welfare. He's not going to be able to get a job. He's not going to be a functioning member of society. He can't support his family unless it's through selling drugs. It just doesn't make sense on any level to do that.
Life's going to go one of two ways. You kick them out, they're either going to get over it and they're going to get on, or they're not.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me.
I think we're not talking about kind of individuals being kicked out. There are lots of people being kicked out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what you're saying is correct. And I've always said this. You got to give somebody a chance. If somebody is presenting with a behavioural issue in the army who's got a reputation of being a good soldier, it's your responsibility to find out why the fuck is this going on.
Yeah.
Where have we gone wrong? Or what have we missed? Or has the system been so closed he felt he couldn't come forward to ask for help? So he takes opiates or does cocaine and so forth.
Well, I know one lad that went forward to get help and he was because obviously it was pretty hard for him to go forward and say, by the way, I've got an opiate problem. Yeah. He went in there, finally mustered the courage to get in, got fucking shouted at, go get a fucking shave, and he just went, fuck this. He went AWOL and it was done. Like, there's just zero compassion there. He had like his mother, oh man, I'm not even going to go into it because it's a hell of a story. But let's just say that I can see why he was doing what he did. Yeah. But
just one thing. General Sir Peter de la Billière wrote a book, his own autobiography. Okay, it was called Looking for Trouble. Right. So he talks about describing his childhood, boys' own stuff, going out shooting birds and so forth, and trapping pheasants,
as you do when you're in the aristocracy,
and all this type of stuff and so forth. But when he was a captain, he carried a notebook. He knew the name of everybody in his troop. He knew who they were married to. Good. And he got to know them so well that if something was wrong, he would pick it up very quick, or literally his open door policy was the boys would go and speak to him. He never lost a lot of men. They stayed, they were very loyal and they're very dedicated. So I think what we're talking about kind of in terms of the army. Yeah.
But look,
we need more effective leaders.
Look, I was going to say, that should be, like when you're saying that, I'm thinking, well, yeah, you should.
Common
sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a fucking boss.
Yeah.
If you're a leader, that's what you should be. You should be doing. Everyone, like we mentioned Dick Winters earlier. Everyone should be aspiring to be Dick Winters. Yeah. Like, everyone should be like, if you're a fucking officer or a wannabe officer, you should be reading that and going, that is the minimum that I should be aiming for. Yeah. You know, it shouldn't be a surprise to go, oh, he knew everything about his men. Fuck, he should do. Yeah. Julius Caesar apparently knew the name of all his fucking men. He had fucking thousands of men. There's a reason that he's remembered, you know, down in history. Guys, I want to wrap up with you talking a little bit about, just give a bit of, about each of your the work that you're doing now. So, Cormac, if you want to talk about your work and just where people can find
we work at a very small military charity called the Bridge Charity. We're based in Telford at the moment, and we accept referrals from people we know. And the reason why we have to be like that, we have no funding whatsoever. We fund it ourselves, myself and a colleague, and that is it. And besides that, I kind of do private work to help run the charity.
So if people wanted to, donate to the Bridge Charity, where can they go to?
Yeah, www.thebridgecharity.co.uk. You'll find my telephone number there. Give me a call if you want.
No dick pics.
No dick pics, yeah.
Unless you got a real pretty cock.
And can I just say one last thing for people who are listening to this podcast who may be associated with veterans or even maybe not. We've had a lot of banter here, but there's a very serious topic going on. I know the three of us take mental health very seriously, and we talk about the humour of squaddies and what we joke about and so forth. That goes right across to the police service, the prison service. it's right across. We have this gully humour. No offence is intended in any way, shape or form. Because once you have humour in an environment, you're actually helping people with their mental health resilience.
And if you are offended, you're probably at the wrong podcast. I don't know how you made it this far.
You've done well.
Yeah, snowflake cunts. All right, Rich, how about you, mate?
Yeah, but I've just been out of prison since July, so it's early days. I set up Project TLS as a social enterprise, non-profit organisation, and I'm waiting for funding. I've applied. It's just that early days. If anyone does need help, if anyone's suffering with anything linked with substance misuse, transition out of the forces, needs someone to talk to, projecttls.co.uk. I'm on Facebook. I can be tracked down. I can be found quite easily. I'm there to help out. If I can use anything that I've experienced over the last 15, 20 years to stop veterans going to jail, then I'll do my best.
Yeah. And look, man, like speaking from my own experience, drugs are not the solution when you're suffering. Drugs are not the solution. Alcohol is not the solution. Fighting is not the solution.
No.
I like I said, I can understand where it all comes from, but it's not going to fucking help you. What's going to help you is getting outside, getting some fucking fresh air, getting down to the gym, eating a fucking healthy diet, talking to people, reading Brothers in Arms by Geraint Jones.
Highly recommended.
But look, there's a lot of stuff out there to help you. Yeah. But what I want you to do, guys that are listening to this, is just as an exercise, take away from this, it's put yourself in other people's shoes is the point. No matter what, we talk about judges and stuff like that. We're all judges on a daily basis. I have definitely been in the past. I've walked past a homeless person and gone fucking loser.
Yeah.
And then, but now I'm thinking now when I think, oh, how did he end up here? Because there's probably a couple of decisions that went wrong that he made, coupled with some bad luck, that resulted in that. So just try and get in that. If your fucking missus is having a moan at you, well, try and think, instead of, try and think well, hang on, let's see it from her point of view,
Stop shitting in the sink.
Yeah. I mean, do it in the kettle like a fucking man. Guys, thanks so much for coming in today.
Pleasure.
All of you listening, you can find me at GRJ Books, I'm at VSON Podcast and all of that. Guys, it's been really cool. Thank you so much. Let's do another one sometime.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Guys, cheers for listening. Love you, bye.
Shout out Teaser. You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've gotta let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that, still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back, memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose.